What's going on, everybody? Hello. Today we are going to be talking about Boy Kills World, the new Bill Skarsgard action flick. It's an indie one. I'm really curious to see how many people show up for this thing and turn out for it this weekend. It's going to be a blast to talk about, and we're also going to be touching on what's streaming before that. We're going to be talking a little bit about the series The Bear, which has a second or third, actually, season coming out really soon here, and a indie darling that very few people know about called The Salton Sea. So we'll touch on a little bit of that before our review. And we will be doing a spoiler-free review before our spoiler talk, so make sure to hang around, and then if you haven't seen it, you can bail whenever you need to. Let's do it. Warning. The following show features reviews from wildly unprofessional critics operating without the supervision of professionals. The thoughts and opinions held by these individuals are not to be taken seriously and do not come from a place of intellectual integrity. This show doesn't reflect the opinions of Criticless or its users. Viewer discretion is advised. What's up? What's up? What is up, everybody? Hello and welcome to another episode of Criticless Cast Unhinged. We are super happy to be here today, and as you can tell, I'm dressed exactly how I always dress, because I'm your host, Chris Kaus. And
like a pimp?
Absolutely not. I'm your host, Blaine Andrews, and I'm joined today by Mr. Matt Verlack.
What's up, everybody?
Spot on. That was perfect. Actually, this is Chris Kaus. He's joining us today because we just figured, that this is what you guys get when somebody's missing. It's just going to be a full-blown role swap every time. Just going to be wild cards. You're never going to know what you're going to get. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I'm really excited to talk about Boy Kills World, and we were sitting in a theater full of like 4 people, I think. So
at the most.
Yeah, this is the most mellow of openings we've had since starting the show back up, or since Criticless Cast has been a thing. So it was an interesting time in the theater for sure, and I'm curious to see what happens over the weekend because there's not really a whole lot coming out. Chris, actually, when we got into the theater, he was like, what are they showing in Dolby and why? I don't even know the name of it. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, no, I don't. I think...
Was it Challengers?
That's exactly what it is. I thought it was Connections, but that's just like a game that I play with my family.
That's Connect 4 or Connections?
Connections.
Oh,
yeah, it's like a New York Times thing. It's for us educated people.
I'm not.
Look at me.
Yeah, that's
I'm
a
a
fancy,
debutante.
fancy French debutante.
Yeah. So, but you're 100% correct. It is Challenger.
Yeah, which
I've never heard of.
Yeah, that's the new film. We might actually look at it while we're talking here a little bit. It's a new film that's starring Zendaya again. This is a weird romance. It sounds like the movie should just be called Edging the Movie. So
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm really curious because we had a real bomb of a review come in from Culture Casino today, actually, because we had like a couple big high score reviews, and I was like, really? Like, this Zendaya edging movie about tennis? Like, this is just super weird. Yes, about tennis. And then his review came in, and it was like, he was like, this movie sucks, but like, do not watch it. I was like, okay, that's what I was expecting from you guys. So I'm curious where it's sitting on the score right now. So you hadn't heard about this at all?
No, I haven't. None. I know of Challenger, like the spaceship that blew up in 1989.
Yeah. Not about.
That's one of those Mandela effects.
Mandelas.
Yeah,
it is.
Everybody thinks it happened in like 90, and
it did happen in the 90s, right?
No, I don't think so. Well, I don't know. Mandela. We got to talk to Mandela.
Right, we need to ask Mandela about it. So we do have 4 reviews for Challengers right now within Criticless. And if you're not familiar with Criticless.com, I guess I should go ahead and say, because the show is sponsored and ran by Criticless.com, which is my company. So make sure to go check out the website, download our app. It's in Apple and Android. We are an entertainment reviewing platform. So essentially, our main goal here is to come after Rotten Tomatoes. We are taking on the juggernaut, and we basically want to set a new standard for entertainment reviewing, whether it's talking about movies, TV shows, and going forward, even games and all sorts of things. Because I think that their scale and just what has become the standard is really broken, and I don't think that things need to be based off of what critics think first and foremost. What needs to come first is the audience, because the disconnect between critics and audiences is getting further and further every day. So
preach.
Yeah, that's why we're here. So make sure to go download the app from your app store and go to the website. And if you haven't yet, actually go ahead and drop a review in your app store if you downloaded the app. It really helps us a lot and helps us get traction. So go ahead and, let people know what you think about the platform for sure on Apple and Android and that sort of thing. It helps us out a lot. So moving on, though, yeah, we do have 4 reviews for Challengers in the app, and I've pulled that up.
Why are we talking about Challengers?
You brought it up, and I was really curious because we don't have an official score yet. That was actually it brought me up a good reason for me to talk about it, which was that basically you will notice there's been a change within the app and just the platform as a whole. Is if we don't have 10 reviews, then we don't have a specific audience score yet. Word. So we executed that recently. Some people love it, some people don't. So we'll see long term, but I think it helps credibility with us, where if they see an official score, that there's at least like 10 people in there that have given it a score.
That makes sense. And I can understand, because I was whenever you first told me about the change, I was like, well, I want instant gratification, as everybody knows. It's what I desire. It's what the body craves, electrolytes. But
electrolytes.
Yeah, but I think that it is, like you said, more credibility, and actually gives a more substantial score. So whenever people are looking for these things, you're not just having one asshole like me being like, it's 100%, and that's great. So I think it is a good move overall, even though it's tough to swallow.
Yeah, I think so too, and we'll see. People get used to it, and I think it'll actually encourage people to go drop more reviews, because it's like, if you go in there and you see something you love and you're like, it doesn't even have an official score yet, I'm going to drop mine, and then I'm going to blast it on X or wherever and be like, hey, we need to go review this and get an official score in here if you've seen it. So anyways, we have a rad, a heinous, and 2 most excellents for Challengers right now in the app. So
interesting.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes, since it's only 4 reviews. But like I said, we're going to be talking about a little bit later on Boy Kills World. But before we do that, we're going to dig into what's streaming. And we typically try to do that as often as we can. And Chris and I have been watching a few things that we wanted to talk about. So actually, I want to hear what Chris has been streaming lately, because they are both extraordinarily obscure, which is in Chris fashion.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll start with something easy going, and it's The Salton Sea, which is something that I think you probably introduced me to back in high school.
It was one of our high school favorites.
Yeah,
for sure.
And
it came out in 2002, by the way.
Oh,
so yeah, which we probably came to it late.
We watched it in high school. Yeah, even though it came out when we were like, it was right on the cusp.
Right.
But it's a beautiful movie. It's very noir.
Big time. It's
big into drug culture, and it's a beautiful story that I really enjoy. Val Kilmer kills it as always.
Yeah.
I want to say R.I.P. even though he's not dead yet.
No, he's not acting
dead
anymore.
In the movies, right?
Yeah.
So
as far as that goes, and this is billed as a thriller mystery crime drama. So and it is,
right.
As you said, it's a very noir movie. This is one of my all time favorites. And right now, you're the only review for this. And so after coming back to it, you did leave a review, which you gave it an 85.
Yeah.
So
and like thinking about it now, it's kind of feels a little low just for the nostalgia purposes of it. Mm-hmm. But I was trying to be like objective and not let my emotions take over, as I often do. But it's just a great movie. I highly recommend it to anybody, especially if you love mysteries, drama, and Val Kilmer. Like it's just an all around banger.
Yeah, sure. It is. And like you were saying, as far as the type of film that it is, it's the whole thing is about this guy's wife getting murdered, and it's a very interesting role for Val, because he's like tatted up and he like plays a saxophone, and it's so noir, but it's about this guy whose wife has been murdered, and he is hunting down and trying to figure out what happened to her.
It's a great mystery detective story noir. That's really all you need to know about it, and I love it.
And the less you know, the better. And another good thing to know, actually, I think, is that Vincent D'Onofrio is in it, who played Kingpin in Daredevil. And in this, he has no nose and is just like playing a big character role. He's just like chews up every scene he's in. How was it going back and like seeing him?
No, it's good. Yeah, I honestly, I didn't, until you made that distinction, didn't really connect those two dots together. But yeah, it's a very memorable character for sure.
Big time. He's like a drug dealer, right?
Yeah. He is the main focal point as far as the drugs go.
Okay. Yeah. But I don't really want to say too much either. Kind of like what you're saying, the less you know, the better. But just if you can get your hands on the Salton Sea, definitely watch it. It isn't streaming anywhere free right now, which is a real bummer. But honestly, if you're into physical media, I would say buy it if you can get your hands on it. I still need to do the same because it's never been streaming anywhere. Now, you can like rent it on Amazon or Apple or somewhere, or YouTube or wherever you rent movies, and possibly buy it there digitally, but I don't trust buying things digital. So if you can find it physical and you have a player, then that's what I would recommend doing. So,
or you could be,
sell the Seven Seas.
Yeah, exactly.
Which it looks like you've been doing recently.
I'm looking for spice, baby.
Yeah.
Bring it to me.
Yeah, check it out. This movie's awesome. It's The Salton Sea, starring Val Kilmer, came out in 2002. Definitely, if you can get your hands on it, watch it. And if you do go into Criticless and review it, I would love to get an official score up for this.
Please.
I'm going to watch it soon and review it, and we can probably get our squad in general to do it and have all of them drop a review. This movie's really, really freaking good. And we have some noir fans in the app who I need to push this to. Maybe if I drop my review, it'll light a fire under their ass to drop one.
Yeah, you have that power.
I do.
Yeah, and it is just wholly noir. There's great monologuing over everything that's happening. So
yeah, it's
definitely check it out.
It's so much fun. So the other thing you were going to talk about is Come and See, correct?
Yes.
And this is a heavier note.
Yeah, it is 100% heavier, which is a weird story of I just found this randomly on YouTube. There was some short that was advertised to me, so I had never heard of it before, but apparently it's like a art house legend. And it does hold up to that part as far as the cinematography. It is beautiful. Love the way that it is shot. It's a 1985 movie that's Belarusian.
It's Russian,
or
right?
Russian. Yeah, depends on what side of the wall you're on. That's Germany. Never mind. But it has to do with World War II, and it is so heavy. I mean, they do not hold punches at all. It will kick you on the ground in the teeth. And so it's super heavy, be warned. But from the cinematography side of it, it is very well done. But
it's a hard watch.
Yeah, it's an art house for sure. But I didn't finish it. I'll put it that way. Just because there got to a point, and I was literally, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. And at the 2-hour mark, 2:10, 2:15, something like that, there's a woman that gets pulled into a truck, and I was like, nah, that's my cue of I'll stop it here. I get the gist of what's happened, and I've seen a lot of the cinematography, so I appreciate that portion of it, but we'll leave the assault at that degree.
Yeah, you and I are both of that mindset where it's once it comes to sexual assault, it's like we're checked out. Ever since The Hills Have Eyes back in the day, me and you both were traumatized 100%. For life.
Yes, that is. I think you've nailed it. That is exactly what triggered it.
Right, me and you went to see that in theaters together, and I remember we were both just sitting there oh god. Yeah, did we stay for the whole? I think we did, but we were both just traumatized.
Yeah, I think at that point is when we made the decision of just
right.
I'm good without this. You can tell a great story without showing me details or
right. You
anything.
can allude to assault without showing me the assault. I'm sorry. It's going to affect me. I say just as much. It will affect me more if you show it to me, but it also might make me either turn it off or walk out. So I just can't. I can't do it.
Agreed.
There's just too many movies where I just can't sit through it.
Yeah, and it doesn't add to the story. It's unnecessary. But anyways,
right.
we've been on this soapbox before in the past,
right, we have. So with Come and See, do you recommend it, I guess? Or is it...
If it's from a cinematography, if you're like a real nerd about cinematography,
right.
100% check it out. It's worth it for sure, and how things are framed.
This is like one of those Criterion Collection type movies.
Exactly. Yeah, it's for that purpose alone. Like even, I mean, it's in Russian, so it was all subtitles, and I watched it on a ship. So it wasn't like 100% accurate with the subtitles. So the dialogue wasn't there, but the plot of the story is pretty.
It took me a moment to process. You were like watching it on a ship, and I was like imagining you riding a boat, watching this movie, and I was like, "When were you on a boat?"
Oh, you dream about it.
And then I do. I think about it all the time. I actually did have a dream about you the other day. I was saving your life, but you were captured.
You never talk about dreams.
I don't talk
Tell
about
me
dreams.
now.
It was everyone wants. I don't talk about dreams, and I don't want to hear about your dreams. Don't tell me them. I don't want to know your dreams.
Yeah, no, it's literally like a trigger for Blaine. He doesn't want to hear about your dreams at all.
I don't.
Not like your metaphorical like aspirations.
Right.
No,
Just
your literal dreams.
Your literal
like
dreams.
when you're sleeping. Yeah. He hates it.
Keep that shit to yourself. It means nothing to me.
It means nothing to anybody, honestly.
No, right.
Like, hopefully.
Because
good God, some of my dreams are like...
yeah.
Anyways.
But
what were we even talking
maybe
about?
see, come and see. Depends on if you're in our house stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I would say art house, if you appreciate the nuances, the details of film, then check it out for sure. I feel like, and I think most people that are in that house already know about this and probably have already watched it.
Right.
I've never heard of it before, but the poster looked familiar. Like I swear I've seen that 1,000-yard stare face before in the past. But yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, check it out. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it's a good movie just for general browsing.
Right, hanging out and watching.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, I guess we'll talk about some of the stuff that I've been watching. The main thing that I want to talk about, I guess first, what I've been spending the most time watching, because I haven't really watched a ton of stuff lately, been a little bit busy, but I have rewatched The Bear, which is on Hulu. I know Chris has seen it and really dug it, right?
Yeah. So you've rewatched like all of it?
All of it. I rewatched the whole thing. So I literally, my wife had not seen it. She'd only seen like 3 episodes, and I was like, you gotta keep going. Like, this is seriously one of the best things ever made. Like, I freaking adore this show. Yeah. I was curious, actually, because I reviewed it a while back, and I was curious if I gave it 100. I apparently gave it a 95, and I think
it's close enough.
It's close enough, and I think I honestly did that because it's not finished yet. This is almost feels like it's in chapters. And so going back still, like, I hold to that 95, maybe even, I think I might even raise it to like a 97.
2 points. It matters.
It does. When you're in most excellent territory that high, those little numbers matter. So I have given it a 95. I recommended it actually to one of our big users and watchers of the show, Jeremy with I Miss Good Movies. I'm pretty sure he dropped his review in here somewhere. Yes, he did. And he gave it 100. And the man gave it 100 after being out of town in another country. And apparently there was music playing so loud in the house that he was in, he couldn't listen to it with the audio. So, and he explains this in great detail. I highly recommend you go read his review. But basically, he listened to this with subtitles and couldn't even really hear it. And he was like, still, this is one of the best things I've ever witnessed in my life.
He listened to the subtitles.
Yeah, well, he did listen to the subtitles, as one does.
Impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he's got skills. He's a talented fella. But yeah, no, he watched it with subtitles while listening to like K-pop, apparently. So...
Who is this magical man? Who is this now?
Yeah, it's I Miss Good Movies in the app, Jeremy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he is a magical man.
He is.
Sure.
So check out his review, but I think I'm going up to 100 in all honesty by the time this is all said and done with. Part of why I wanted to go back as well is because we are looking down the barrel of Season 3, which is coming out soon. I do not know if this will be the final season, but I would not be surprised if Season 3 is the last season that they do. This show is so cinematic. It is like a movie. There are multiple episodes that are like movies in themselves, especially the Christmas episode. I don't know if you remember it, where
what season is it from?
Season 2. There's
I
a Christmas.
Haven't seen season 2.
Oh, holy crap!
Yeah.
Okay, you really need to go back and watch it. Season
I will.
Season 2 is an absolute masterpiece. Like Season 1 is very good.
Yeah.
Season 2 is a legitimate masterpiece.
So is Season 3 out?
No. So Season 3 is coming out within I think about the next 2 months.
Okay.
Month to 2 months. So you got a little bit of time.
Because I could have swore at the beginning of this you said.
I might
you
have.
watched Season 3.
I might have said it, and if I did, I'm a liar. So I watched Season 1 and 2 from start to finish, basically. We watched it together. I adore it. Season 2 ends on a really interesting note. clearly setting up they were prepared to do a season 3.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if you have not seen The Bear, definitely do. I would say prepare yourself. This is not one you watch with kids around. Language is a ton. It is. There's not really a lot of other graphic things in it, but it is probably one of the most vulgar things you will ever see in your life. Like,
right,
more F-bombs than
if you've ever dealt with or have any
culture.
Friends that are in service industry.
Right.
That is par for the course.
Yes, it is. It is very much. And this show, I guess I didn't even preface, but The Bear is about a restaurant and about high-end dining and the culinary scene. But this is a kind of a drama show, I guess is the best way to describe it. But there's just so much to it. It's so dense. And it's the episodes range. They could be 30 minutes long. They could be an hour long. But it is just a freaking masterpiece, and I don't really want to even say too much. Just it's high intensity, very easy to watch. You will burn through these seasons very quickly. Could not be happier that I watched it a second time, and it's probably one of my most recommended shows. I mean, Hulu is killing it. I mean, they've got this show. They have Shogun out now. Like they just are doing quality stuff.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's just Shogun's so good. So yeah, definitely make sure to watch The Bear and drop a review. We do have an official score right now, and the official score on Criticless is a 95%. This is probably
that is probably the highest.
It's one of the highest. Yes,
I bet it is the highest show.
You're probably right. Because honestly, we have found out it's pretty hard to get a most excellent. In all honesty, like even though there's a 20-point range there that you could work with, it is hard to hit between that 80 to 100% range.
Right. And not everybody is as smart as we are, so they don't have as good a taste.
I mean, that is true.
As educated or cultured, so not everybody has the same opinions that we do. But they're very, very impressive.
It's very impressive. Yeah, it's a really high score. There are no bad ones. There's literally only one rad of a 79 from our friend Kyle, who should be ashamed that he gave it a rad.
Zagak.
Yep, he did. Yeah, Kyle off script, he gave it a 79, but he said his reasoning for giving it a 79 was he said that the language was so intense that it turned him off. So, that's
understandable.
Yeah, and it's on par for him. That's on brand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is one of the most vulgar things you will ever see. So, and you can watch it on Hulu if you have Hulu. So it is free on there, both seasons.
It's kind of bad that I don't recognize that as being like a standout thing.
No, I don't even
Am I going to hell?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, you kind of look like someone that would go to hell. I mean, this get
I'm
up.
Going down,
you're and you're sitting in Matt's seat. That seat is regularly smited, so...
Yeah, it's bad.
So, yeah, do watch The Bear. I've been trying to con Matt into it forever. He's yet to do it. But also, if you're a business owner, I think that this is a really special show to watch. As someone who runs a business and has one, Season 2 really hones in on the difficulty of running a business and just the chaos of it and the stress and just everything about making that investment, whether it is financially, emotionally, mentally, all of what it takes to run a company and how difficult it is. And it really... Season 2 really will strike a chord, especially after this past year of just running Criticless and seeing it again and stuff. I'm just like, man, this hits hard. Yeah.
So would you compare it to like the prequels for Star Wars, to where there's like a lot of like Senate meetings, a lot of business meetings, people are giving out like ideas for businesses?
I mean, it's pretty much Season 2 is pretty much the prequels, Star Wars prequels. Oh. I mean,
right. I'll watch it.
It is interesting because they do get into some of the like financial talks and stuff, but it is literally just people screaming at each other like, "What the fuck? Why is this so expensive?" And then like throwing things at each other. So.
Tell me you're 36 without telling me you're 36.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Seriously. So yeah, that was The Bear. Check it out on Hulu. The other thing I was going to talk about is actually a highly requested by two individuals movie that I've had on the books to watch and I hadn't been able to catch yet, and it has showed up on Netflix. This movie is called Repo Man. It came out in 1984. Mm-hmm. It's an hour and a half long, pretty easy to watch. It's a sci-fi comedy, and it's starring Emilio Estevez. And you'll recognize some of the other cast, but this is also kind of one of those like Criterion Collection-esque films where it's like but it's more of a cult classic versus like a art house film.
Right.
And so I miss good movies. Jeremy, him and For the Users, another one of our big users that does a whole lot of reviews. Yep, our good friend. And she gave it an 85%, and Jeremy gave it an 86%. So they've both dropped reviews for this in the app, and so part of why it popped up on the radar is, especially back in high school, Chris and I both were really big into punk culture.
Yeah.
And this movie is hella punk rock, and somehow we never saw it. I don't know how.
Yeah, it's one of those things to where like everybody talks about it.
Right.
So it's in my subconscious, and my brain don't work too good, which everybody knows. So I can't distinguish whether or not I've seen it or if I've just heard about it so much that it's just there in my brain.
It's in the subconscious, but you've never actually seen it.
Yeah.
And that would not be surprised either. I had somehow managed to never seen it. This, I think, it's not quite SLC punk. Like, it's not that level of a punk movie.
Hackers?
Kind of, but not even exactly that. Okay. It is interesting because you have this punk character who gets involved with actual repo men who repo cars. But being a punk person, you're like, I don't want a job for the man. You're taking poor people's cars.
Fuck the police.
Fuck you. Fuck the police. Like, and that's this guy's, mindset when he comes in. And then he finds out that repo men are also punk rock as shit. They just wear suits and steal people's shit. Yeah. And
wait, like suits?
Yes. So their whole thought process behind the repo men in this movie is that if you look like a Fed or if you look like someone important, you won't get stopped when you're stealing somebody's shit.
True.
Yeah.
It's also the idea of like wearing a high vis.
Right.
Which is a British thing to say.
Right.
It's the wig. A high vis, and you can walk in anywhere. And just like carrying a ladder.
Right.
They did a social experiment with that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I'm sure you've seen a YouTube video, without a doubt.
Yeah. I know. It's not that cool.
Right. If you look like you're supposed to be somewhere, then people just believe you're supposed to be there. And that's kind of the point behind these repo men. But this movie is weird as shit. Like, it's so strange. It's on Netflix. You need to watch it, honestly, Chris, because I want to know what you think.
I'll check it out.
I don't even exactly know where I sit with this movie. It's pretty cool. It's so 80s, so weird. I don't know what I'm supposed to take from this movie. I haven't even... So I was avoiding fully reading Jeremy's review and... for the users, for the simple fact that I like to go into things fairly clean, and I knew that they were recommending it pretty highly. I read like the first paragraph or so, then they were recommending it, and I was like, I feel like I need to see this. I don't want to come in with pre-existing like thoughts on this movie. So
smart.
Yeah. And so I've checked it out. Now I need to go back and read the reviews. I haven't. I just watched this yesterday. Finished it yesterday afternoon. Day before yesterday. But anyway, so I've watched it. It's on Netflix. You should definitely check it out. I still have not processed my thoughts. I don't know if this is a rad or most excellent for me.
Oh, wow.
I think it's
That's
probably
still pretty high.
Yeah, I think it's probably a rad for me. I don't know about a most excellent, but this is a cool movie. It's super punk rock. Like, I really don't know what it's about or what the message is, and maybe that's the point. Maybe it's not really, because there's aliens. Like, yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, there's aliens in this movie. That is actually at the core of the plot. Almost, I'm burping on camera. Y'all are welcome. That is, I've moved over to these ciders, and they are tearing through me.
Apples make you burp.
They do. Apples make you burp. So, yeah, I don't... This is a strange movie. It's really weird. It's super 80s. Like, the fact that there were aliens in it, there's a green car that turns people to goo. Like, I'm telling you, it's wild. There's a lady with a metal hand. Like, but also, there's, like, multiple subplots. You're following, like, his punk friends. You're following him and the repo men. You're following the feds. You're following, like, this dude driving the alien car. It's strange.
So, what you've just touched on, like, two other movies. You're talking about a car.
Yes.
So Ghostbusters. No. Ghostbusters car, for sure.
Alien car.
Men in Black. Okay.
I guess if that's where we're... yeah. It's... I still haven't gathered my thoughts. Like I said, I'm still like, this is such a weird movie. I almost want to hear their thoughts to help collect my own. Because it just ended and I was like, whoa. That was weird. Like,
right.
And I mean, I definitely didn't dislike it. I was like, this is kind of cool. This is super 80s. Like, it's just weird. I think it's an upper rad for me. And, but it's one of those things where if you know punk culture and if you knew any, like, legit punks, because that's the thing. I don't even know that many real punks exist anymore because they've all sold out so hard.
Right. But they also, like, if you're a real punk, then you're not going to be on social media in any way. So, like, you just have to know them personally, by circumstance if they live in your tiny-ass town on the edge of nowhere.
Right.
So.
But that's the thing is, like, that whole subplot and these people, if you've ever been around them and know them, they nail it on the head with these people. Like, old school punks did, even back in, like, the early 2000s, right before they stopped kind of existing for the most part, is like, they didn't give a shit. They would freaking steal. They would would rob from people. Like, they would do whatever fucking drug they threw their way. We used to work with two that were hardcore punk people, one of which tried to get me to steal the Wienermobile one time. The actual Wienermobile, this is not a joke. He was hell-bent on stealing it. I talked him out of it. Like, he would have stolen it if I had said yes.
Yeah, but, I mean, I feel like I heard some statistic that there's only, like, okay, this is going to be an underwhelming, or too low of a number, but I feel like there's only, like, 10 Wienermobiles in the U.S.?
Right.
And I've definitely seen it multiple times.
Me too. Well, where we live, it makes sense because we live
in Wienerville.
We live in Wienerville. There are so many wieners here. All the wieners. We live in NASCAR country, so when there's big races, lots of dicks around.
So many dicks.
You know, it's a wiener fest. If you know anything about NASCAR, it's just wieners, wall to wall wieners, and so they bring a whole wiener truck for them.
Also, there literally was a Wiener Fest that we had here. Like,
really?
It was put on by, like, 106.5.
Why did we miss it? Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we didn't miss it. We just ignored it because it was all butt rock stuff.
Yes, it was butt rock.
No, I'm Matt.
Yeah.
I love butt rock. And it was the best concert
music.
festival ever.
All the wiener butt
hate
rock is the best.
Humor, and this music is the best. You'll love it. Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Blaine.
Yes, over to me. So anyways, that's Repo Man. It's, like I said, 1984 classic film. It's on Netflix. Stream it. Let us know what you think. So there's 4 reviews. So if I drop one, that'll be 5. If Chris sees it, that'll be 6. We're getting close to having an official score here.
Yeah.
So
we're getting there.
I mean, if you got to give us a low effort ship missile and just drag some sliders and tell us what you think and don't want to type anything, that's fine too. But I am curious to know everybody's thoughts on this, and I got to go read the other reviews to process. So that's my thoughts on Repo Man, whatever those thoughts might be.
They were good thoughts.
Yes.
I liked them.
Thanks for. I try to think and give thoughts. You know,
You're
that's
doing
what
a
I'm
great
here
job.
for. Oh, thank you. So I guess let's talk about Boy Kills World, because that's really what this is about.
Hell yeah.
That's what everybody came for. That's what you wanted to hear.
It's true.
So, without further ado, I'm going to dig into Boy Kills World. Yes.
Okay, are we doing the, like, what critics think kind of a thing? Like, guessing that score?
Yes, we will guess scores and stuff. We can go ahead and do that.
All right.
So, first, I guess I want to mention, I didn't mention it earlier, Boy Kills World is directed by pretty much a new director, an indie director. He's out of Germany, actually, and hasn't done any American films. So, his name is Moritz Mohr. And he's done 2 other foreign films, from what I gather, but this is like pretty much a debut.
That is a great name, by
right?
The way.
Yeah, it is a really Moritz Mohr. That's an excellent name. So, and it's got a couple writers on it. He's one of them, but not the primary. Tyler Burton Smith is actually the lead writer, and Arend Remmers is another writer on this. So nobody I recognize is even attached to this. Why are you? I did.
No. Okay. You say Remmers.
Yes.
In any form.
Remmers.
My immature brain is gonna be like rim job.
What about a rimmy rim?
Yeah. Rim.
Yes. So about the rim jobs, but yes, this is starring Skarsgard, Bill Skarsgard, one of the Skarsgards, all of the Skarsgards. And actually, I don't know if you recognized Famke Janssen, who was from the X-Men movies, who legitimately does not age.
Famke.
Yeah, that's her name.
Famke.
That's how I've always said it. I don't know.
X-Men movies?
Yes, she was.
Who did she play?
She was Jean Grey.
Oh, yeah. No, she's the main...
Yeah.
She's
Jean Grey. She's the mom in this movie. But
she's the main baddie. Mommy Daddy is what...
Yes.
Yeah,
she's.
baddie.
I like to call her Mommy.
I don't know why
is what
I
I
said
call
daddy.
her. Yeah. But she was in the X-Men movie.
Mommy baddie.
Yeah, she's in this. So I'm trying to decide if I want to just fully tell Matt to cut this entire bit out of this show.
No, it's good.
We'll let him decide.
The Mommy baddie.
So about Mommy, she doesn't age though, right?
True facts. She is. Yeah, she looks exactly the same as she did in, like, what was that? The first X-Men movie.
Right. Well, and the reason I actually said this, so the interesting thing is Bill Skarsgård and her were in a TV show that I watched where she played his mother in the movie. It was called
Mommy Betty.
Yes,
Yeah, we got there.
Oh,
yeah.
mommy. Yeah, she played his mom. It was called Hemlock Grove, and this was one of the initial shows that launched for Netflix. It was one of their very first, if not the first, like Netflix original show. It was a really strange horror show, which I actually had a lot of fun with. It's really weird. And it's about like werewolves and vampires and all kinds of weird shit. It's a interesting show. It went way off the rails, but I watched it till the end. But they were in this together, and I'm like, man, are they like sharing some casting directors or something? The fact that they're in this together, and then there are multiple other recognizable faces. Actually, Jessica Roth, you have probably seen in some things. She's been in the Happy Death Day movies that have been coming out. I think that's Happy Death Day 1 and 2, and she was in La La Land and some other things as well. So she's in this as well. They don't show her face until a little bit later. But there are some recognizable faces along with some twins that we recognize that were actually from The Boys. It took us till the end of the movie. Chris was like, who are they? I know that boy from somewhere. That boy. Right. And what's interesting is how much he looks like Bill Skarsgard. And he's playing a young Bill Skarsgard. It's wild.
Right?
Like, it could be him as a boy.
Okay, so missed opportunity with It.
Right.
Where they had like the youngins and the oldins. Right.
Well, they never showed the monster as a little kid. So
it's a good point. Good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. But I mean, that would have been great to see a kid It. So, you know.
Yeah, why not? Let's make a kid It, because you know what's the scariest thing in the world?
A kid clown?
Children.
Children.
Also, kid clown. No, you nailed it.
Nightmare
actually.
fuel.
Yeah, kids are
terrifying.
Second. Clown. No. Kids are first. Clowns are second.
Yeah.
As the most terrifying things in this world. So you combine them together.
Right.
Bad.
Yeah, bad. So, we're going to be talking about Boy Kills World. We need to go ahead and do our Rotten Tomato score predictions and all of that fun stuff. If you don't know how we operate, the way we do this is we like to roast some tomatoes around here. So, we like to look and see what the critics think. Now, this is a very indie movie. Like we said, it wasn't a packed theater by any means. I hope that this gets some love. Just because, I mean, it seems like they're advertising it. They're really wanting to get it seen. So maybe word of mouth, it will get some people into the theaters. Because actually, we noticed at the end, this was apparently produced by Sam Raimi. Yeah. So, and which after seeing the movie actually makes sense why he got on board for this. Right. Because it is an absolute gore fest.
Yeah.
So, let's go ahead and do our Rotten Tomato scores predictions for what we think that they are going to think on this. And then at the end of our review, we'll touch in and kind of dig through and see if we were right about what they think. Yeah. So, I'll go ahead and give my guess here. I am guessing a critic score is actually might be fairly high on this.
Ooh, all right.
I'm going higher. I think this could be... I want to guess 80s, but they tend to disappoint me, so I'm going to say a 78.
Wow.
Do you think I'm being too friendly?
That is... I mean, look, mad respect.
Yeah.
You could be right.
I'm having faith here.
But I'm going to go with a critic score of 60.
60.
We'll cut a pretty even number of just 60.
All right, so a 78 and a 60. And I think as far as our audience score, I'm guessing that this is at least going to be in an upper rad territory, but it's quite possibly could hit in the 80s somewhere, which could be a most excellent. So I'm going to guess an 80 on the nose.
Ooh. Okay. So wait, what did you say for the critics?
I said a 78. So 78 and an 80. Okay. Now, their scale on Rotten Tomatoes obviously works drastically different than ours.
Yeah.
But an 80 for us is technically a most excellent.
Okay. So for our group.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Criticless.
Foes. Yes.
The Criticless Hose?
Yes, the Criticless Hose.
Yeah.
That's what we call it.
I'm going to say... I'll say 72. Mm-hmm. Just give them some leeway.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be for everybody.
Right.
There are some pretty heavy critics.
In the app still.
In the app.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a derogatory term. Like,
right.
It's just
sometimes critic is a bad word, but in this term you're not meaning it as a bad word. So What I want to do as well is I want to touch in on our themes. If you have not used the Criticless app, basically we have themes, sliders where you can go in and rate on language, sexual content, and nudity, family friendliness, violence, political bias. So I want to touch in on that and kind of let you guys know what you're getting into. So as far as language, as Chris and I have stated many times before, we don't really hear bad words anymore because we're heathens. So
It's true.
But I think this is going to be in a ton range. Yeah, I think it's going to be in a ton. What do you think? Is that
language? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a ton on the language. Totally maxed out, probably. Or just on the ton.
Yeah, I would say on there.
On the ton.
Yeah, there's no C words. So
yeah, there aren't. That's what puts it in maxed out.
Yes.
So as far as sexual content, nudity, I don't think there's any nudity in this movie.
I can't remember any.
I can't either.
It could be my heathen brain.
Right,
but
it could
I'm
be.
thinking it's none.
Right,
honestly.
I'm thinking so too. And by the way, you either need to click, if it is none, make sure to click include this rating in my review or move the slider. Because if you don't, it will say that you did not rate it.
Yeah.
So definitely do that. But so we're going to say none just because I can't remember any. I mean, we had some like cleavage in some like sexy dresses.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they did pull down the dress a good bit.
I mean, but there's no complaints here. If this movie had came out in the 80s, which it felt like it did, this would have been wall-to-wall titties. So
true. I mean, that's the 80s. Baby.
It is.
Yeah.
It was a good time. You know, things have slid downhill, and you know,
I've slid downhill as well.
Yeah, there's just not nearly the tits that there were in the 80s. It's just, you know, it's just a fact. You got to live with it. Just not enough tits. True. So, speaking of family friendliness, so family friendliness is not at 100% because it's absolutely not.
Literally zero.
Do not show this to your children.
You could not go below this.
No.
Like, I mean,
if we could go lower than no, that's where it would be. So just no. Do not show this to your kids because it comes to the violence.
Yes.
As far as violence goes, this is maxed out. We could go over a ton.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we had your ideology as far as violence in the last review. I think it was the last review.
Right.
To where it was like, oh, there weren't
they were
like
it was a little soft.
Blood flying everywhere. This movie,
This
holy shit.
is what I want.
Right. It is 100% not only violence, but also gore. And you get it all in one tight package.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. From the second the movie starts, pretty much. Like, you're going to limbs severed, blood squirting, spraying, just
squirting so much.
There's so much squirts. It's just squirting everywhere,
buddy.
all over Skarsgard's face. He's just facial squirted the whole movie.
Well, let's just say it's not from the beginning of the movie because there are children involved in the beginning of it.
True.
But
after the first like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it gets to it eventually.
It does. So as far as violence, maxed out on a ton. Political bias, I would say none. There is nothing political in this movie that I can think of personally. As far as even, well, actually, I saw your face and you made me think for a minute there.
You say actually because...
It depends on, is it that it's in my favor and that's why I don't find it political, or...
Are you a totalitarian?
Well, it's anti-totalitarian.
Oh, sure. And that is what it's permitting.
Right. Promoting? Permitting? Both? Maybe?
Yeah. Okay. So we are actually missing Matt right now. Mm-hmm. And I am finding that Matt's job is so easy. Fuck you, Matt. This is so easy. No,
switching the camera. So yeah, if you didn't know, actually, Matt is our cameraman, which is why we get to blame him for everything and talk about how he sucks, because he has to do all of the hard shit while we just sit here and run our mouths, and now Chris is having to do it. And typically Chris and I are totally trashed, which... We're kind of trashed today.
We're
there, and now Chris is having to run cameras, and he's having a blasty blast over here.
Yeah, no, it's good times. But I have to, like, focus on something, which is, like, total doo-doo. Like, who wants to focus?
Right.
Anyways, what were we talking about?
Yeah.
Totalitarianism. I nailed that word.
You did.
You
said it almost as well as Trump says it.
That's the best compliment I could ever get.
It is.
So is it for it or is it against it? Is there any bias here one way or the other?
It's against it. So, but I mean, if you're for it, you know, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. So,
yeah. I like.
I guess if that's political, but as far as a left-right scale goes, or Americanized left-right scale goes, I guess not. Like, I mean, we're all kind of against the stuff that is in this film.
Yeah, police state.
Yes.
I can't speak.
We should play a drinking game. Nope.
Nazis,
yes,
we're against it.
Yep,
yeah,
against
for
those.
sure. So it's we're against all of the things that they're against in this movie.
Yeah,
so
we are sitting here, and if you're not, then you're a monster. You know, I mean, if you're for jackboots and shit, then I mean, I guess that's the thing is on both sides of each extreme, you are pro those things. So it's like that's why it kind of puts us at none.
Okay, yeah,
so
I'll take it.
Yeah.
There's no bias.
I mean, now granted, we could say that it's like left leaning because there's no tits in it. I mean,
that's what we want to be known for. I don't know why I'm saying we. Like,
no, go ahead.
Hold on. I'm the least of these. Yeah, it's in the Bible somewhere, I think.
Anyways, we're gonna keep going on with this. So basically, that's to let you know what you're getting into. Now, what we're gonna do is a spoiler-free little. That was part of it, you know, our spoiler-free talk here, but. Really going to let you know our upfront opinions and whether we think you should see it or not before we dig into the nitty-gritty and give you spoilers.
Yeah.
So, I guess you want to kick this off or you want me to?
Sure. No, I'll kick it off.
Okay.
I mean, if you're like me, I guess we're going to give away whether or not we like this movie.
We are.
This is that point. I love this movie.
It is
so fun.
It's so good.
So fun. Oh God, I had so many like comparisons, and I've lost them all because I've not writ them down.
You did not write them down. Yeah. So actually, I had a few comparisons as well.
Go ahead.
Do you remember any of yours?
I do. I remember some of them right now, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, first off, this is very 80s. So there's a lot of 80s connections that you can make. And there was actually one in mind. And then when you said that you couldn't remember yours, mine went out of my brain instantly as well.
You're welcome.
So actually, best comparison I can think of as far as a recent 80s throwback to Boy Kills World is if you have seen Turbo Kid. Now, this is a little bit less 80s nostalgia bait than Turbo Kid was.
Yeah.
Just because of the music. If the music had been fully synthwave and like very 80s in this movie, it would have been extremely comparable to Turbo Kid in some ways. And actually, I think that this is a substantially superior film to Turbo Kid, which I love Turbo Kid a lot, but I think that this is an even better movie.
I don't think you're like breaking any, glass ceilings here with saying that Turbo Kid wasn't the peak pinnacle.
Oh, that movie was made for like $10.
Right, exactly. So, like, saying that it doesn't meet that or it exceeds it, it's understandable. It's fine.
But for someone like me who's big into the like 80s nostalgia bait stuff, like Turbo Kid is still most excellent for me. Like, but it's somewhere in the 80s. Honestly, I mean, we can go ahead and get into scores here. I am dangerously fucking close to a 100 on this movie. Like, dangerously close.
Same.
It's so fucking good.
It's so close.
It's so good. Yeah. Like, I'm struggling to come up with reasons why it's not 100 for me.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to be real bitchy and just complain about the most subtle of things, I could 100% make it less than 100%, which is a weird terminology to say. But yeah, it's real good.
It's really good, and I honestly, part of me, because it is this like underdog indie film from a new director, like this movie feels like an audition tape for this director, and it was literally him just like pulling out his schlong and flopping that thing on the table and was just like, look at my dick. Like, I mean, really, right? Like, did you feel that? Like, he was showing people what he could do.
Yeah, no,
You're at a loss for words.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sorry. Like, the schlong on the table just got me distracted.
I know. I mean, as they do.
No, it was so good. Was this his, like, first directorial?
It was like I said, he did like two
foreign
director. This was his first of like he did like 2 foreign films before this that like pretty much nobody's seen.
What kind of foreign?
They looked like dramas, but I didn't dig into them deep. Like
no, I mean like, are we talking like?
Oh,
no, right.
Okay.
What kind of?
He's German.
German. Okay, yeah. German dramas.
I guess.
Dramas.
Dramas. Yes, that's what they call them in Germany. Is a Dramish. Yes. Yeah. He did 2 movies that literally one of them's called Akumi, and the other's called Vronkonfrinkoff. So
nailed it.
Got it on the first try.
Hell yeah!
I mean, I'm pretty. And actually, he wasn't even the director on that. So actually, this might be a debut. The other one that he directed was the Akumi movie that he wrote and directed, and it's like 8 minutes long, so it's a short film. So this is his first full length.
Oh. This is his first
feature,
full length, directorial debut.
Yes. This is freaking impressive. That's enough to make me want to give it a 100 right there. Like I said, he laid the schlong on the table.
Dude, look, agreed. And it's a long table.
Yeah, it's a real long table. Long. Yeah, I mean, seriously. So if you're not picking up on the fact that you need to watch this movie, you should watch it. Now, granted, like we said, hyper-violent, like over-the-top, 80s action movie. Like, that's what this is. But if those things resonate with you, then you're going to think that this movie is the absolute shit.
Yeah. It's the tits.
It really is.
Yeah. But you have to be okay with the gore.
A lot of it.
So we have already gone over this in the last review of Blaine's idea of violence. And he, in order to categorize it as violence, it has to have gore in it.
Yes.
So this, which we have already previously shown, is the top peak of violence for Blaine.
Yeah, yes, it is.
And for me, too.
Right. But, like, what's great about it is it's an action movie, and it's not done in, like, horror movie type fashion. Like, when a limb or something gets chopped off, you're going to be laughing and be like, instead of being like, like for a Saw movie. So there's a range of gore, that you deal with. And so this, for me, was what Ungentlemanly Warfare was missing. And let me note, let me note as well that when Alex from the Salty Nerd podcast dropped his review, the thing that he said that this movie, that Ungentlemanly Warfare was not gory enough, and that it was not firing on all cylinders, and he was like, maybe I'm a psychopath, and I was like,
true.
Yes. We both clearly are, but also it has been well established on the Salty Nerd podcast that Alex and I are borderline the same person. So
and could be sociopath. I'll give you sociopath. I won't say so much as psychopath.
Right,
socio.
I mean, my wife would probably agree with you. So, I mean,
100%.
Yeah. But I really want to talk about this movie more. Yeah. Also, the other thing that we have not brought up is the comedy. And this movie is...
Oh, my God.
Boy Kills World is funny as fuck. Like this,
it's hilarious.
Absolutely hilarious. I mean, we laughed so much together in this movie. There were 5 whole people in the theater, and Chris and I were just cackling like freaking hyenas in this movie.
Yeah. I kind of felt bad for the other people in the theater. But at the same time, fuck them.
Right.
I literally have not laughed this hard in a movie.
No, not in a full-blown comedy movie.
Right. Now, I mean, I also don't really watch comedies in the theater, but this is the first movie in a theater that I have watched that I've laughed this hard in. I literally don't know how long.
Right.
Like, it is hilarious.
Yes, and one of the things that helps make it so funny is that the movie is narrated by John Benjamin. From Archer. And so he is playing the voice of the lead character who is mute and deaf.
Yes.
So you are getting to hear his thoughts, and it is very tongue-in-cheek. It is very funny, which is interesting because the movie opens up, and when it first starts, you're like, this movie is going to be so serious.
Right.
And then about 3 minutes later, they've got you just cackling, and it's just ludicrous.
Yes.
So... To set up what this movie is for you. So if all of those things resonate with you, then I would definitely say check it out. I think we need to pack the theaters out for Boy Kills World. Like, show up for this movie.
Please. It is so good. Like, Okay, I don't want to give away too. We're beyond that.
So,
right?
so are we going into spoilers? Spoilers
We're not
now.
spoilers, but
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just like from my stance.
Okay.
I love this movie. It is so good. It brings back like nostalgic feelings of just a romp through gore, humor, and drama all combined.
And that's the thing.
one.
Yes, it hits every genre flawlessly, which is nearly impossible to do. And when he says like drama, it gets serious at some points.
Mm-hmm.
For being as wacky as this movie can get, it can also get extremely serious and do it flawlessly.
Right.
It's honestly impressive. And to juggle these genres as well as it does, and to have you feeling something one moment and then laughing the next, and then being like, holy shit, I can't believe they just showed that on a screen. It all happens within moments of each other constantly.
Yeah. It's well, okay. So we've said enough in I think
our spoiler-free section.
Spoiler-free.
Yes.
If you enjoy so you have to enjoy gore. There's a lot of vulgar language, but it is worth it if you enjoy those kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So we're going to get into spoilers now, so bail out if you don't want this movie ruined for you, especially after what you've heard. I would say normally on a movie like this, your thought would be this can't be spoiled, but this movie can be spoiled. And there is a turn in this film that I absolutely did not see coming.
True.
It is big. And there is a bit that is, well, I don't even want to get into it. But so just know that this movie can be spoiled for you, and it does go places that I was not expecting it to go.
Yeah, the spoilers are actually true in this point. So if you like, there's some movies where it's spoilers like meh, it's you understand it, but this one it is 100% actually spoilers.
Yes. So bail out now, and we're getting into the spoiler talk. So starting now. All right, so let's freaking talk about this. So the movie kicks off, and so you don't watch trailers, you don't know shit about fuck, and
that's true.
have no idea.
I also don't know fuck about shit.
Yes, exactly. And so when this started versus where it ended up seconds later, what was where was your brain watching this movie?
It was in heaven. Like it started off like from start to finish. It was so enjoyable for me. I don't know what that says about me. Like, maybe I'm a Neanderthal and just enjoy brutality. But there was...
It was special.
It was special. Experience. The story.
Yeah.
It did start off a little slow with the man and the shaman in the woods.
Because they spend a substantial amount of time on a montage in the beginning, which is also very 80s. I mean, 80s movies love their montages. And they really, honestly, at first you're like, oh, that was a montage. And then the montage keeps going. But they keep it varied enough that it makes it work. And they really want to develop this character through these montages because he goes through so long of his life.
Right. Yeah, it's... Right. There is a montage.
There is.
Sorry, this like
switching cameras
switching is like it's triggering a part of my brain that shouldn't be here right now.
Yeah,
it's the technology.
Yeah, you're having to keep up, and it's a little hard.
It is. I'm so hard. Right. Yeah. No. What were we even talking about?
The montages. Yeah.
Okay. So the montage. Right.
Yes.
Yes. So I feel like it was a little slow at first, and it was, but I still appreciated it so much. Like there was still a lot of content to get into, and they covered it, and it was so funny.
And it was so wacky
like,
with John Benjamin over the top. Like,
is hilarious. And Blaine pointed it out to me because I didn't realize that you pointed it out within like the first like 10 seconds, literally, that it was. John H.
It's H. John Benjamin. John Benjamin.
Yeah. So, and it's the guy from Archer.
And John Benjamin has a van or whatever the name of that show was.
Yeah.
And a lot of things. He's a famous voice actor in general. He had, actually, it's Bob's Burgers. Like, if there's anything to know about me, I have impeccable voice recognition. I can hear someone's voice and know exactly who the hell it is. It's really weird skill. I used to freak people out when I was a kid, and I would answer the phone, and they'd be like, I'd be like, hello, and they'd say hello, and I'd be like, hello, Tim, and they're like, how do you know it's me? I just said hello. Like, it was just this weird talent that and what's actually
Tim Runyon.
Right, Tim, yeah, you knew who I was talking about, which makes it great. He was always calling my dad. So, but the funny thing is now, after having kids, is my daughter has the same skill, and it's really weird, and she will do it, and she'll be like, oh, that's so-and-so, and I'm like, holy crap, good on you. Sometimes she beats me to it, which is impressive. So, yes, I can spot voices from a mile away. Granted, John Benjamin has a very recognizable voice, and eventually you would have figured it out.
Oh, for sure.
But I said it in seconds.
Right. Yeah. Like, so, like, the initial dialogue of it was very gravelly. That's what I'm selling to myself. That's why I'm saying that I didn't recognize
he didn't do initially. It right away. He was actually doing a different voice than his normal voice. So, I understand what you mean. Yeah.
It was a more gruff voice. Yeah. So, but no, it was so good. I don't even know what we're talking about right now. Like, what are we focusing on right now?
You're just gushing over how good this movie is and trying to run these cameras. Now, something I didn't bring up as well, and I meant to mention, is that Andrew Koji is in this movie. And I don't think you've watched it yet, Chris, and I don't. You don't even know.
I promise you, I haven't watched it.
There's a show called Warrior. And we are pushing very hard for this to get another season. Warrior is one of the best shows on television. We are like one step removed from the entire cast. The Salty Nerd podcast is friends with a lot of the cast on this show. But Andrew Koji is the lead. And this was actually a show that was created by Bruce Lee back when he was alive, and it was never able to be made. And then his grandkids picked it up, pushed it to networks, and actually got the show made. And it is phenomenal. It took me about 4 or 5 episodes to get in, so just hang with it. But I promise you, it is worth the ride. I've watched all of it, and it is one of the best shows out there. It's on Netflix right now. It's trying to get picked up. We've been trying to push it on social media and everywhere. And actually, we even got shared by the official Bruce Lee page after talking about it. Yeah, we did a post about it. And I was just like, please pick this show up. It has like a super high score on Criticless, and it's really good. And so anyways, it's excellent. I highly recommend watching Warrior. And Andrew Koji is the lead actor. He plays Bushido, which is... He's so funny in this. The thing is, this character is wildly different from his character in Warrior. He's very serious in Warrior. He plays a very Bruce Lee-esque character. And then in this, he is just goofy and has a British accent, and it's ridiculous. And
I'm sorry. Did you say in this movie?
Yeah, he had a British accent.
He had a British accent?
He did.
Are you familiar with the continent known as Australia?
Oh, was it Australian? I thought it was British.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, it was Australian.
Well, never been to Australia. Only know a handful of them. Sorry, Jeremy, didn't recognize your accent, buddy.
If I'm wrong,
I thought it was like a Cockney accent.
Me. No, it's
like
Australian.
You're on the other side of the water.
Cox, Australians.
Pretty much the same. Pretty much the same thing. So, anyways, he was great in this as well. I didn't mention him being in it, and Charlito Copley, who gets his face fucking smashed. And he was actually just in Monkey Man, which we saw him in.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say
we just saw him.
he's a well-known person, but I feel like I had just seen him. So he was in Monkey. Who was he?
He was the
Monkey
ringleader
Man?
He was the ringleader in Monkey Man,
and he was Australian in that, or Cockney.
That's his. So he's actually South African, and that's what his accent actually is. And he's an excellent actor. I love him. He shows up as like kind of a bit character. He's normally playing somebody over the top. And in this, though, he had an American accent, which he almost never has. And it's almost odd hearing it. And you can tell that he's fighting that accent of his because his South African accent is so strong. Yeah. But he did great in this as well. There's, these people that kind of pop in and out that you're just like, oh, I know who that is. But it's not necessarily megastars, but very recognizable people. Also like Brett Gelman, who is from Stranger Things. He was in this as well and does a good job.
Right. Yeah.
So there's just some cool people in this movie. Everybody did a great job. Everybody really showed up and just seemed to be having fun. And it was interesting because it's very hard to play a role where you don't speak. And Bill Skarsgard just keeps proving that he is an absolute rock star. And Bill in this movie without a speaking role. So I saw a movie without a speaking role recently, which was actually with Nick Cage of all people. There's a movie that he did that kind of rips on Five Nights at Freddy's, and
Yeah.
I watched it. It was recommended to me. I actually wasn't crazy about it because
2023, like it's a new movie, right?
Fairly, it wasn't that new, but like in the 2020s, I think range. I can't remember the name of it offhand. It wasn't. I think it's like Wally's World or something weird.
Yeah.
Like it's something.
Yeah.
But it's. I wasn't crazy about it because personally, for me, if you've got Nick Cage, I want him speaking, and this.
Fair.
That movie didn't have him speaking. Well, I'll say this, that without Skarsgård speaking in this movie, he still did a superb job.
True.
And he has his expressions and his eyes are so expressive and so big that it's just like he is the perfect actor to make faces. Mm-hmm. And I loved what he did here. Were you digging it?
Yeah, no. There was I feel like it was one of the first close-ups of Skarsgård where he actually does the eye bulge thing that you all recognize from
It.
Yeah. And there's a lot of CGI in this movie, but that is it's not CGI. It's him
just
doing
his crazy
the eyeball
eyes.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's so good at it, and just expressing in general. And I'm still trying to hunt down this the Nick Cage movie because I don't think it was called Wally's World. I'll eventually remember it, and everyone's probably screaming at me right now because I'm an idiot and can't remember the name of the movie. But I actually wasn't crazy about it because I just want to hear Nick Cage talk. So it was Willy's Wonderland.
It's close enough.
Close enough, very close. So, but this movie, I think has Boy Kills World fully cements Bill Skarsgård as an action star to me. He can carry it. He is so big and imposing, but also gangly and like lanky.
He's the lankiest motherfucker.
He really is. He's just arms and legs, but in this he got like super ripped, but he's still very lean. And like it just six-packing it up.
Yeah.
And I really dug what he was doing here. So, I mean, mad props to Bill Skarsgård. I want to see him do more action stuff. And, I mean, so this movie kicks off, and they kick off the comedy. It's like it's very serious for a few moments. You watch this boy, his family die. And then they're like, okay, here is him like having to survive all of this training by this man who's just running him through the ringer, and he's having to breathe under the dirt and all this stuff. And they're like, here comes the freaking comedy. Buckle up. This shit's going to be freaking hilarious. And John Benjamin shows up to narrate this entire montage scene, and it's just phenomenal.
It is so good. Like, I'm a huge fan of Archer, and it's really literally from like the beginning of the movie. I would say for the first half. So up until the middle point, it is like nonstop humor. I've literally not laughed in a movie, in a theater, this much. I can't remember ever.
We laughed a lot. Like, I was honestly surprised.
Yeah.
They killed it. And the fact that they made this balance was just honestly impressive. Yeah. And so the movie kind of trails on, and they're like up in the ante with the action. And the thing is they do this perfect doling of the like drama, comedy, action, and back and forth all the way through it to where they introduce Andrew Koji's character, Bushido, and that whole fight scene is epic and awesome, and he does nothing. And I was expecting Andrew Koji to just like really show up because he's an extreme martial artist as far as what we've seen with Warrior, and you're like, man, I want to watch this dude fight. And then he's got a limp, and he's like got a bum leg.
Yeah.
And I was not expecting. I thought he was just going to come in kicking ass. So if you recognize him and his character, or for this character, then you're just like, you're expecting something, and that's not what you get, which was interesting. But then, he introduces Bill Skarsgård's character, the boy, who, because he doesn't have a name in this,
right?
That he introduces him to the rebellion, and it's one man who Bill Skarsgård, who is deaf, cannot read his lips, and it is hands down one of the best things I've seen in so long.
Dude, it is so good. Like the humor in this movie is, it is absurd. Like it doesn't make any sense for a movie of what this is. Like it should be just like gore, action, fighting. that's the main thing you go for, or what you're looking forward to in this movie.
Right.
But the humor is so on point.
It really
I
is.
love it.
Yeah, it really is. And it's to the point where, like, he starts talking, he can't understand him, and he's just like, ham sandwich bimbo hee haw. And you're just like, oh my God. And you're hearing him.
Yes.
And then you're also hearing John Benjamin being like, yep, I like ham sandwiches. And, like, they will literally also, while this is happening, they're, like, telling him to do things and working out a plan. And they will be showing you what he thinks that this man is saying. So you will see, like, a bear playing a banjo, like, eating a ham sandwich or whatever he thinks that he's saying.
It's so good.
It's just so incredibly well paired with what is happening. And then, I mean, really, it's like, you know, the main premise of this story is just about, it's a redemption arc, which we have seen so many times. But they found such a creative way to do it. And, you know, you watch him train, you watch him grow, you watch this character build and become, you know, the man that he is today. And you find out that he's not ready to do battle, right? And that's what his teacher says, because he's hallucinating his sister. Yeah. And it was funny because we get introduced to the first set of the bad guys, and one of them is a masked character. And Chris instantly is like, he leans over and he's like, that's his sister. Yeah. And I was like, I had the exact same thought.
Yeah. We're all on the same page with that one. It was fairly obvious at the point.
It was pretty telegraphed,
but
I think.
Are we in the spoiler
We are.
zone?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, so it gets revealed to us later on that it is his sister, but the way that the familiar relation happens is different.
Exactly.
I'm like beating around the boy.
No, beating around the boy. That's a little weird, Chris. Why are you doing that? Is that what happens when you put on
It's a bush. It's a bush.
Creepy French wig. That's what happens. But yeah. So that we were alluding to it earlier, and if you've seen it and you're in the spoiler section now, then you know. But honestly, for me, the reveal kind of blew my mind, which we spoilered, and hopefully the people that I got spoilered for did not pick up on it. Either that or Matt has cut it out. I don't know which has happened.
We covered it up pretty good. We were pretty slick with it, and
we're the slickest.
Nobody knows.
No one figured out what we were talking about. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Famke Janssen is the mommy. So
it's a mommy.
Yeah, she had the mommy milkers. You know what I'm saying?
True. Yes. The art costume department.
Yeah,
let her have it.
They were throwing us some bones. So I mean, what is that?
What?
You got a what?
Huh? What?
You're whispering over there.
I have a bone?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. It's they were kind of. This reveal honestly kind of blew my mind. I was not expecting it, and it caught me off guard. And it gets extremely serious. And
true,
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
like they really went there, and they're like, "Hold the phone. We're going to cut the comedy. Like, we're going to show you exactly who this character is, what he is. Like, he is nobility, basically. Right. He is the son of these fascistic, like, totalitarian psychopaths who are making a game show out of murder just because they can't. But we find out part of the reason why they've doubled down is because the mother lost her mind because her son got taken when she tried to make him kill the peasants, basically. Yeah. And it got really heavy there for a bit. And I mean, up until this point, it's the action, the comedy, and there's little bits of drama, but it wasn't big. And then they really throw it to us, and they do it very well. And it's kind of nail on the head. And so then, what surprised me is there were a couple action scenes that I felt like they cut a little short where they were just showing him, like, killing people, but the camera was kind of on him stylistically, which there was a lot of excellent camera work here.
Yeah.
And a lot of drone work. I don't know if you noticed. There was a lot of, like, swooping shots and the camera curving around and flying around people. And,
okay.
I just thought it was really neat the way that they utilize some of the drones shots in this movie. But and then just the camera work in general. Whereas we talked about Monkey Man recently, and there was some messy camera work that was just a little too brutalistic
for me, especially.
Yeah, and in this, they managed to capture it properly. There was busy camera work, and there was a lot of following the fights, but he managed to do it right. And I think that, unfortunately, he made Dev Patel look a little bad with these movies coming out right at the same time. Because Dev, maybe it's the cameraman he got, or maybe it's what he wanted portrayed, but this is an action movie compared to that. The camera work here was just so much better for the fight choreography.
Yes. Well, okay, so, like, Monkey Man redeemed itself in the final fight scenes. It was very steady cam. There wasn't a lot of like shaky and cuts. So I can't fault it at that point, but this one overall, it was still a little shaky, but it was followable.
Yeah, you could see what was happening.
Right. Exactly.
And so, as these fight scenes are like escalating, and then what's interesting is they kind of pull him back a little bit. And like I said, you're kind of more following like the boy and his like experience, and the camera's really close up on him. And there's like a fight scene where a bunch of dudes pour into a room, and you're like, I'm about to watch him kill all these people, and then you don't see it, and I'm like, oh shit, is this the end of the movie? Is this the last fight? And then we get like him, we get the reveal. You find out that his sister is who his sister is, which we all know. You're all probably going to see it coming from a mile away. But then, it builds to their fight scenes together. And he really drops the hammer. Like, just really shows up and is like, this is people getting freaking worked.
Yeah. I have not seen this amount of, like... This would be gore to me.
Yeah.
Like, the, like, knife cutting through arms, legs.
And joints and tendons.
It was almost too much.
There was points where you and I were like crawling out of our seats, legitimately. Like we were both just like, "Oh God, what is happening?"
It was like it made my nipples hard in a bad way. Like there's sometimes it can be good, but this was one of those situations.
Bad hard nipples.
Bad hard nipples.
Yeah.
And it was like, ugh. Like whenever, like had like somebody scraping their teeth
on concrete, or like
the most. It hits all of the points of the most revolting isn't the right word, but it's like it falls along
the easiest way to really hone in on some of the just fucked up violence in this is the cheese grater. The cheese grater scene is just the
holy moly. I can't even. It's the best and the worst fight scene I've ever seen in my life.
When he cheese graters this dude's armpit. He takes the cheese grater, rams it in, and then just yanks the thing. And it's just like, that is in a nutshell the type of moments that this movie grabs that I don't think I've ever seen anywhere else. And it's honestly extremely impressive.
Yeah. It's... I don't know if this is just like a man thing, a male thing, of just like
your armpits.
I know exactly what my armpit feels like if it were to have a grater of any kind. Scrape it out.
Yeah.
And it's probably just a human experience,
it might
honestly.
Be.
It probably isn't just male-oriented, but that's
There's
just
something
my
about
perspective.
an armpit that is sensitive, where it's like one of those things where you're like, do you ever sleep with your hands up over your head like this? And like there's a point where you're just like, I'm exposed. I'm going to put these down. I'm going to put these bad boys down. I don't want anybody creeping in here and getting up in my pits.
I don't want to be tickled.
No, ain't nobody going to
tickle me.
Ain't nobody going to sleep tickle me. Nobody going to do that to me. But yeah, so and the thing is typically in a lot of action movies, like the most recent John Wick, for example, is they regularly take action scenes too far. And this movie managed to do like the final boss fight where he was against his teacher. When you find out that his teacher has manipulated him, his entire head was like brainwashed, and like that his parents are bad people or his mom is. And, but at the same time, like what this dude did to this kid was totally jacked up, considering that he especially did not want to kill his family, all of these things. But like they have to have the big showdown. Right. And so, of course, we're rooting for the boy because it's like his teacher could have let him go or he could have kept him. And I think that he did deserve to die. Like what he put the boy through, I understand. It's like you think about it for yourself, but it's like he had one of two options. He could have let the boy go, or he could have kept he could have let the boy go, or he could have done what he did and tried to kill him, right? And so he chose to kill him. Which, I mean, so where do you sit? Like, if it was your family, if it was this boy, like, do you let him go? You've raised this kid, like, but also you kind of hate him because he's responsible for your family's death.
Yeah, it's a weird. It's not a weird. It's just like, where are you satisfied with, right? So, like, the shaman, which is the dude that trained Skarsgard, he's justified in his vengeance and his anger towards this family because they killed his wife, his child, everybody that he loved, right? He was the only one who escaped. But so at what point are you satisfied? Really, is what it comes down to. Is like,
what's enough?
Yeah,
you've taken out all the warlords.
They've killed everybody who was responsible, right? So the only thing, the only point of contrition that happened was where he wanted Skarsgård to kill his sister.
Right. Contention, not contrition, but yes, you pulled a Blaineism there. I got you.
They could be similar, maybe. So it's like, okay, so this child who is younger than the boy who actually did the shooting, who you trained, like,
and raised,
she had nothing to do with, like, any of it. Like, so why do you want so badly for him to kill her? Right. Like,
well,
everybody
she has been following along with the family and doing what she's supposed to do, right? Like her duties as the totalitarian psychopath, right?
As like the
Yeah, but like, you know, it's probably like she would die if she didn't. Now, granted, it was clear she was like, I don't kill kids. And that was when we instantly knew. That was the moment when we were like, oh, that's the sister
100%.
Without a freaking doubt. But so anyways, you know, it digs into this. Well, the fight happens, right? And that fight is one of the most brutal, like technically one-on-one fights that I have ever seen. I mean, he is like slicing up tendons and ligaments and just... It is wild.
The brother is going down the river, not across the bridge, which is, if any emo people know out there, the key way to die. Just you go down the river.
Right.
And it was not only the arm, but the leg. It was...
And the throats, like he got his head cracked on the concrete, like the stuff that happened. And like that was the thing is like that's what I like about this versus Ungentlemanly Warfare that we were talking about. What we were complaining about in Ungentlemanly Warfare is like these guys were invincible. Like these characters were not. Like, and this character in general, the boy was like totally getting wrecked regularly, but was just getting up and kept pushing. Yeah. And even his sister, when it happened to her, but she eventually went down. Like, she couldn't keep up. Right. And I liked that. Like, that was the thing is like the boy had trained with this guy. He knew everything that he could do, and he was able to keep up. The girl could not. She got wrecked. And like, I thought that was pretty appropriate and well done.
Yeah. It was very well done. Like, I mean, it's the most basic of instinct kind of things because it is violence and gore. So, like, there's not a lot of nuance involved with it, but it was very well done. I don't know. It's hard to like elaborate on it more.
And that's the thing is we're kind of on this movie's nuts, but the thing is we both liked it a lot. And I mean, I was trying to think about on the way here, like, do I have any complaints? And honestly, if I were to have a complaint, and it's kind of a nitpicky complaint, is just the soundtrack, because I was in my head comparing it to Turbo Kid. The soundtrack could have been better. Like, that might put it at like a 98 or a 99 for me. But like, it's still a out of the ballpark score, right? Yeah. Like, I wish that it had had a Turbo Kid type score, and it didn't. But like, what kind of complaint is that? Like, the score wasn't bad. Like, the music wasn't bad. It was just like, this was a very 80s homage movie, so why not lean into the 80s music?
Right. Yeah, it didn't take anything away from the movie. No. It's still as good as it is, but it could have been a 100% solid 100%. And so what I was thinking about as far as comparison goes with this is it felt like V for Vendetta.
Oh, that's a good one.
And, oh, Jesus, it just slipped my mind. I was just thinking of
you
what
had
it was.
And then it went away. But V for Vendetta is a good one. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, that and Turbo Kid as well kind of compared to one another.
I know what it is.
Yeah.
Equilibrium.
Oh,
it was V for Vendetta and Equilibrium mixed with what was that movie? I literally kind of quoted it earlier here, where they were talking about like electrolytes.
Oh goodness, I don't know. You're gonna have to stew on that.
I
one.
will. We'll
All
have
that
to
button
look it up.
pushing's taking your brain away.
I know. I can't do more than one thing at a time. So having to push buttons for cameras and talk.
There's too high of a demand.
Yeah.
So while you're thinking about it, what I say we do is we're gonna go ahead and get into our Rotten Tomato scores.
Sure.
So from here on out, we'll dig into the Rotten Tomato scores and close out the show, but I really want to see what the critics think about this movie. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and search right now. All right, so I got the Rotten Tomato scores up here, and this thing has a 62% by critics, and I'm pretty sure that was right around where you guessed, and you probably don't remember.
I don't remember at all.
Because I guessed a 78.
Okay.
Mine was a 78. I think you said a 60.
Did I?
See,
it was pretty low. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, it was around in that area, and this is what happens when we don't have Matt writing everything down. As usual, we don't have Matt to shit on, and we don't have Matt to do everything for us. So
it's true.
But so yeah, this has got a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes by critics, and I am bummed. This is almost a splat. And it's some bullshit because critics are big D-bags, and they didn't like this. So,
They're
Chris,
dummies.
you predicted it properly.
Yeah. As I always do, because I am the smartest
You clearly are.
and the greatest when it comes to reviews.
This is by 124 critics. And actually,
Wow.
there's...
Okay,
it's
so
fairly low.
Is it not... No, wait, but isn't that more than the last review we did? Because the last movie we did, I feel like it was sub 100.
It might have been.
What is it? What was the last one?
Ungentlemanly Warfare. That actually wouldn't surprise me because it was in a lot less theaters.
Yeah.
I think it was like in the 80s maybe. So, yeah, this is technically higher than that, which is surprising. But considering that other movie wasn't showing in certain countries, this might be showing in all of them. So technically the past two that we've done have been considered indies. So
True.
So this one, and actually they do have a audience score, which was a 64, which isn't much higher. So it sounds like we are much higher than people in general, and I'm just really bummed at everyone for how low these scores are. So what it says for the critics' consensus is... Bolstered by Bill Skarsgard's all-in performance, Boy Kills World may offer just enough action thrills to offset its thinly written characters and predictable plot. Dude, outside of the sister, I did not find the plot predictable.
Yeah, there was... I mean, even... okay, so yeah.
All right, everybody. So if you're watching this on video, then you're going to see that I'm in my street clothes and not my Criticless Cast Unhinged clothes. Well, actually, Chris's Criticless Cast Unhinged clothes. Because, once again, this has happened like 4 times now, our recording software just hates us. And we can't figure it out. We don't really exactly know what's causing it, but it's done it again. And now there's not Matt to blame. Now I can just blame Chris, which is fantastic. I mean, as long as it's not me, because we all know that nothing is my fault. I mean, if you ask my wife, she'll tell you that nothing is ever my fault.
Blaine is flawless.
I mean, it's really hard to be a perfect human being, but I do my best, and I just surround myself with flawed human beings. That way, I just look perfect all the time. Is that not right, Chris? I mean,
Like, if you're going to choose any flawed person, me and Matt, we take the cake. We're here to serve you.
Low-hanging fruit for me. You know, you're my low-hanging fruit. That's why I keep you guys around.
All right.
It's so I can just pass the buck on.
It's true.
So, anyways, we were honestly... Right when this cut off, we had gotten through most of our reviews, so y'all know what we think. I was about to say what I think. You do know what I think, and you know what Chris thinks as well.
Yeah, but I barely think.
Yeah, he thinks sometimes. But, yeah, so as far as Boy Kills World goes with the critics, we were pretty disappointed because it's fairly low. It's at 62% by 104 critics, which is, in my opinion, extremely low. This should have at least been in the 70s, if not 80s, from critics, I think, because this is an excellent movie as far as what it is trying to do. And the problem is that it seems like after reading all the critic reviews within Rotten Tomatoes, they all tend to hyper-analyze this film in that is an 80s homage, like, action flick. Like, they're trying to put too much on the movie. This isn't an indie art house film. This is a gory, action, ridiculous, over-the-top movie, and it wasn't trying to be anything that it wasn't, right?
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, the long and short of it is that, like, as far as the critics' consensus, here and there, we will agree with them and kind of can see eye to eye. But this is another one of those where I don't really understand it. I don't know where they're coming from. And I don't think we're going to get a lot more critics' opinions on this outside of the 100. If it gets up to 150, I'll be surprised. Now, granted, that could change the score if 50 more people showed up. But I don't think that many are going to. So it's probably going to stay in the 60s range, and that's barely a solid tomato, whereas Chris and I are in heavy, most excellent territory. And I think that that's where our audience score is going to stay, and that's one of the things that we talked about. Is there anything that I haven't touched on that we touched on earlier?
No, I mean, you've nailed it pretty much across the board. I think we've caught up everybody for what we were talking about. There was one thing for... The critics were just too hard on it as far as like story base goes.
Right.
Like it's not a...
They were criticizing the plot.
Right. Like you're not watching this for the plot. Like it's still good and there's still a twist and
it's
mystery,
unpredictable.
And it is unpredictable. But the real reason you watch this is for me is like the humor and the action. Like that is the main... selling points for this movie. So if you're looking for like Blaine said, an art house, something they're pushing boundaries for,
cinematography
or and we did have a complaint about the audio, the
soundtrack.
The soundtrack, it wasn't. It could have been better. That would have pushed it over into like over hundreds, like the 101. Can we have 101% on this? But
if we could, right?
Yeah, it was pretty flawless for what it was. What your expectations are for it? It meets mine 100% and exceeds it. It was so good. So the critics are just dumb.
Yeah, they suck. So as usual, we're disagreeing with the critics. Big surprise here. But honestly, I hate that y'all lost a little bit that we had on film that y'all missed out on. It was about 15, 20 minutes, but luckily we didn't lose a whole lot. So one thing that we do want to do is go ahead and give you guys our send-off songs. Chris and I both gave send-off songs. We can go ahead and do that now. So one of the things we did was my song that I recommended for the week was Paul Cawthon, and the song was Hot Damn. So Paul Cawthon is one of our favorite artists. We're going to see him for the third time in Montana this summer. Like we just love him. He's kind of rebranding, and this song Hot Damn is great. And I was saying that actually it would be a perfect song for this movie, even though it's not 80s themed and the vibe of it. I think it works for a movie like this.
And I mean, I can understand the 80s theme for the movie. I wouldn't say that it's like the leading theme for the movie. It's kind of like an homage for it, but it's not the like sole theme for it. So I'll allow it.
Right.
The song that you've chosen would be perfect for this.
Right.
But for me, the song that I have for this week is by Manchester Orchestra. It's an old band that we've loved since middle school, high school.
We saw them back in high school. They've been around a while, which they were a hardcore, like they were very much an indie band back when we were in high school.
Right.
And they still kind of are, but they're a little more mainstream.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a song that has like 100 million views on YouTube or something. So they're not like indie by any means. It's out of my wheelhouse, my normal wheelhouse, I would say. But they have recently released a live recording of an album they came out with. I think it was like 10 years ago. For Cope is the name of the album. And it is so good. It has reignited my love for them, and the song specifically that I would say you should check out would be just top notch. You can check out any of the songs on this album, and they're going to blow your dick off. Regardless,
when I go to listen to music, I want my dick blown off.
Yeah.
I would expect most women to want their dicks blown off. So
sure, I mean, if a woman had a dick,
right.
you would want it blown off.
You would
just
want
like
it
if
blown.
I had a vagina,
right?
I'd want my vagina blown off.
Right. You just want those labias flapping in the wind. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what this is going to do to you.
I 100% know what you mean. So check out just Top Notch. I mean, that's just one of the songs you can check. you can pick any of the songs off this album, and especially the live version. I think that they are honestly better live than they are in the studio versions. So not to just suck their dick too much, it's fantastic. Check out Manchester Orchestra and
the new Cope album.
Yeah. Cope. Well, it's not a new album, but their new live recording of the album. That's 10 years old.
That's wild. Yeah, and from what I heard while we were sitting here waiting to see if our video was totally screwed, I really dug it. And so, yeah, it's worth checking out. So Paul Cauthen and Manchester Orchestra, go check out what they've been doing. But guys, I hate that you lost the recording and that you're getting us in our street clothes, but you're welcome. So anyways, we will see you next time, and hopefully Matt will have fun editing this because we screwed up a lot, and there's a lot of stuff. I'm glad we were not recording this live. Or maybe actually we should have been recording this live, because then we wouldn't have had the problem that we had.
True facts.
Because recording this in real time is why we have all the problems we do. So, there's that. So if you guys want us to do actual live shows, then let us know, and maybe we'll just start doing these live, and that would work better. So anyways, we're signing off, guys. It's like midnight, and this has been fun. So, later.
Deuces. Let us know. We'll do live just for you, if you want it. All right. Peace.